They gave us three options, to look at three options and the costs of all those options. The first option was the unfunded maintenance and the security. And let's get this building so the heating and cooling works and it's safer for the students. And that was about $35 million to do that. I mean, it wouldn't solve the ADA or the for the kids with disabilities. It wouldn't solve the parking. It didn't solve how spread out the school was. It didn't solve the gym space. It didn't solve a lot of the issues that had come up with just being an old school. So then the second option, which intrigued me a little bit, to redo the high school and keep the front of the high school, but it was going to be a 4-year project. And it was going to cost over $100 million to do that. But to do that, there was 4 years of construction. They were moving the football field and putting out portables all outside. It was maybe even tearing down the old 55 building and redoing it, to a brand new science and industrial tech area. We looked at how do we redo some of the classrooms to make them more collaborative and more for the 21st century learning. But it didn't solve the parking and some of the safety, and it didn't solve the students being on campus for some of the activities. It didn't seem to solve all of the issues or the problems that we talked about that we wanted to solve, when we started the process. And it would have been great to keep the high school in the middle of town and, like where I grew up, but it's still landlocked. There's only 19 acres. People park all over the streets. It's dangerous when you drive around at night when there's events going on. It just didn't seem to be the right fix for our issue. And with the current space, the 19 acres, it's recommended to have 77 acres for a new school. So if we did fix that high school, it was more of a Band-Aid and it would work, but it wasn't a long-term solution for a high school. So in the last option, the third option, was to build a new high school. And it was $138 million. There's a cost to doing that final project, but it wasn't a lot more than necessarily redoing the current high school. So we looked at, who would be involved in designing it, and you had teachers, community, and you could really have a lot of folks involved in giving ideas and creating a high school that Owatonna wants and is going to kind of lead us to the next 50 years. After going through a lot of schools with my kids in sports to see what a lot of other schools look like, there are a lot of ideas that I had in my own head about it. But to do that, there's a bigger cost. And then it was, how do we get businesses involved? How do you get other folks involved in this process of building a new school? But it addressed all the issues. It addressed more land for parking and safety. It addressed the issue of more kids being involved in activities and making sure that they could stay on campus for those activities. It addressed the issue of 21st century learning and having more collaboration and flexible classrooms. It would address all those issues that kind of came out of those brainstorming sessions that we'd had earlier. And probably one of the bigger things that came out of it was that security that we talked about and just making those buildings more secure. And just with the security, you really could control the exits and entrances to that school and not have over 30 ways to get in and out during an event at the high school. The cost of construction could be going up, 3 to 6% a year on a new building. So the longer that we wait to address it, those costs were going up. So for me on the task force, it made more sense to me to not just redo what we currently had, but for the dollars and cents looking forward for the next 30 years and not having to fix it again, it made more sense to me to build a new high school. So I in the end decided that a new high school was the best route to go. Yeah, so the task force, not everybody was agreed early on, so it evolved a little bit over time. And there were some people that were for a school the whole time, but not everyone. But by the end, when we all decided, there was a vote, we called it a fist of 5, and you could vote on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 you were against it, and 5 you were all for it. And by the end, there was a consensus on the committee or the task force that everybody either had a 4 or 5 when we held up our hands to how we would vote on each of the issues, and a new school was what people decided. But when I thought about it, I was like, what's going to serve our community the best for the next 2 or 3 generations? And a new school made the most sense to me.